Welcome to the Zompire Horde podcast. Join us every Monday, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern, as your hosts, Vlad the Rad and Michelle of the Dead, discuss horror, true crime, and the macabre. Episodes available on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Join us, won't you? Hello, and welcome back to another Zompire Horde podcast with my bestie, my sister from another mister, Michelle of the Dead, and I, your host, Vlad the Rad.
Yay!
This week, we're talking about ways to torture people.
Torture!
We already have our first comment. It comes from our number one fan, Melissa Voland. She says, "Hey, y'all."
Hi, Melissa.
Hi, Melissa.
I already know this is going to be my favorite episode of all time.
You think so?
I already know it. I had to condense my 11 pages of notes. I mean, I just got home from work at 6, and I've been scrambling. It's a mess, but we'll get through it.
Yeah, I did. So I don't know if you went this route like I did. I not only did I go with the physical torture, I actually went and did some of the psychological torture as well.
Too. That was one of the first things I wanted to talk about was psychological horror, and I was going to if I had more time, I wanted to organize by where in the world, is this from ancient Greece, or is this from medieval times in Europe, or is this from Asia, or China, whatever. So yeah, imperial China, there's a couple things, but I didn't do that. I figured, if people really want to know, we could look it up, I guess. But I also have some stuff on this is going to be really triggering, but it is a form of torture, is the Hitler Nazi experiments.
Oh, okay.
So there's some of that I looked into as well that is really, really fucked up. But first off, what is torture? Why do tortures happen? Why do people torture people?
Time out. Before we get too far in, I do want to make one quick mention that we are doing another giveaway tonight.
Oh yeah.
Tonight we're giving away this dirt relic from we'll get into it, whether it was a murder castle or not. I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit tonight, since I did read the article you sent me.
Thank you.
But it's a dirt relic from Holmes' murder castle, and there's the COA on the back. We will be giving this away tonight. We're going to do this the same way we did it last week, where we ask you 3 questions. They will be about Holmes. You send me an email. The first email I get that with the correct 3 answers will win the prize, and we'll ship it to you. If you don't believe me, ask Derek Winsky. He won last week. He won the Ari Lehman signed Funko Pop, and he already got it. He already received it. So also David Pratt is in the house. So welcome, Tennessee.
Woo-hoo!
Tennessee. All right. So back to what we're talking about here, which is ways of torture in general.
Yeah. So the reason why people torture others usually is to get information out of them or to punish them. They could have broken the law, stolen a piece of fruit or something, so they go and they get hanged in the gallows. But a lot of times, CIA type shit, it's I'm gonna put hot needles under your fingernails and put a plastic bag over your head for 4 minutes type of things, those but don't really kill you, just torture you. So I guess we could break into this with some of our
they basically want you to feel like you want to die, on the verge of just wishing you were dead. Not letting you get all the way there in order
some
to
of these things
get information or punish you, like you said.
They're so horrific. These things. It's yes, I'll tell you anything you want. Just and then a lot of people they admitted to things they didn't do just because they wanted the torture to stop.
Right. Yeah, 100%. People do it all the time.
And it's and it's just so scary, So, when we think of torture, we think of the typical things jamming the shit under the nail, tying people up, basically, gagging them, whipping them, beating them, kneeling on rice, kneeling on dried corn, things like that. Throwing acid on them, putting their hand in boiling water, putting their hand in the garbage disposal.
Anything that really causes maiming or pain or prolonged suffering. That's pretty much torture. Do you?
Yeah, and the human race is really good about thinking up these types of things too. There's some real messed up shit out there.
Well, if you think about it, 2022 years ago, we had the crucifixion of a guy that we all have heard the story about. And obviously that's torture, being up on the cross, nailed to the cross, right? So that's torture within
That was
itself.
a common torture.
Yeah, you're starved.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's not like Jesus was the only one to ever get crucified.
That was a common thing that happened to a lot of them. And what part of it was they were made to carry their cross. They were like whipped and beaten the whole time. And basically they're put up there, they're either hung up, by nails, or they're tied up, and then they're just left to the elements. Birds come and peck at them. They, they die because they're exposure,
right.
and shit like that. And people
Dysentery
walking by throwing shit on them, be like rocks
yeah.
and feces.
Well, one of the ones I read about, and I will get in as we get into like the different types of, and we'll get to that one. But one of the ones I read about too was like they how do they do it? They like put you in like a barrel, kind of like, remember, like, you ever seen those old cartoons where the dude's wearing like the barrel?
Yeah, it was for drunk people to walk around in and shame themselves.
Well, no, there's also like a way to torture somebody with that. And then what they would do is they would put a guy in it, or like in a tree trunk, and then the pissing and shitting on yourself would attract bugs and flies.
This
and they would
is
start
called
like eating you away and shit.
Yes, this is one of my favorites. They called it the boat or the tub. And they would either put you in a little tub or a tree trunk, or they'd stick you between two boats with like your arms, legs, and head sticking out. Okay. And then they would force feed you milk and honey until you were like super bloated and you started having diarrhea. Exactly. And you're laying there in your diarrhea, and they also smear the milk and honey all over your face, ears, nose, mouth, orifices, and you're attracting bees and shit like that, and bugs because of all the sweet sticky smell. And then the worms are coming because you've had diarrhea all over inside this vessel that you're in. And so basically you're being eaten from the inside by all these bugs and that are laying, their larvae in you and burrowing into you as you're rotting in your own feces. That's a way to die.
Horrible. That's a terrible way to fucking die.
That's horrible. Can you imagine the smell?
Right. Well, and then, I mean, it takes so long. I mean, I already have a problem with poop. I can't even change the litter box. And you know what I mean? Like, I'm like grossed out.
But if you had to lay in a puddle of your own diarrhea while worms were crawling around your ass and up into and then like flies were laying eggs into you, and like you're starting to you're getting gangrene and you're starting to rot.
Well, before I throw up, let's throw up our first question. Question 1 was, what was H.H. Holmes' name he went by? Or not the one he went by. Obviously, we know him as H.H. Holmes, but what was his actual real name? That's the first question. Don't comment the answer. Write it down on a piece of paper, because at the end, as we did last week, you're going to send me an email with the 4 answers this time, and you're going to win a prize. Okay, so that was it. Sorry about that. Go ahead. And we're next.
So that's a pretty gruesome one. That was one of the... That's called scaphism, by the way.
You're going to have to read these comments because my screen's too small because I have my other screen up. But Melissa Volan had something to say there.
Melissa says, this is like the last 20 minutes of I Spit on Your Grave.
It definitely is. It definitely is. And what another great, speaking of I Spit on Your Grave, specifically referring to the newer ones, that's a torture film, you know what I mean? Like, she comes back and she fucking tortures, like one dude gets his eyes pecked out. The other dude fucking's got his face over I think it was like a bat of acid or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, that shit was fucked. Mm-hmm. Those dudes definitely had it coming. Like, I didn't feel bad, not even a smidgen of any second of it. The newer one, like the remake or whatever, when the sheriff, like when she gets him with the shotgun up his ass, dude, that's the best thing in the world.
I don't know. There's I don't know. That is pretty crude. Well, shit, I can't even talk. Blah, 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 blah. Let me try to talk again. So let's talk about what's one of your most horrifying tortures that you've heard of.
So there's been disputes on if this actually was a method of torturing people.
I know what you're talking about.
To believe it's called the Blood Eagle. Was that right? Is that what you thought I was going to say?
Well, there's 2. That's one of them.
Okay. Well, the Blood Eagle was a method of ritually executing a chosen member back in like the Viking era of Scandinavia. And basically what they would do, let me find you a description, because it's pretty brutal.
Tell you.
Oh, go ahead then.
They basically they cut open your back, and they break your ribs and flay them out. And then they take your lungs and they stretch them out over your ribs to represent wings. And that is called the blood eagle. And it is
Right.
a,
But
a Nordic.
don't they also like salt your lungs or something like that? They do
I
something
don't
they
know. I've heard it being done in a couple of different cultures, but there's no documentation of it actually happening. So that's why they don't really know. But it's a terrifying idea. And they featured it in that movie Midsummer.
right. And also in the TV show Vikings that was on the History Channel.
Oh, I didn't
Um
see that.
yeah, I'm trying to I don't remember if they actually show how much of it they showed. But I do remember that was in the show. Yeah, as a matter of
Yeah.
fact, right here it says King Lothbrok's son, King Aela of Northumbria. They caused the bloody eagle to be carved on the back of Aela, and they cut away all of the ribs from the spine, and they ripped out his lungs.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a pretty brutal way.
That's pretty brutal.
Yeah.
Um, Another really brutal one that they don't know for sure is real or not was the Iron Maiden. Not the band, they're real.
They are
And I
real. I
love
love
them. And I love them. I love Iron Maiden. Um,
them.
but they say that there's no like documentation of them being used, although they've found some in different areas of the world. Whether they are just like for show or if they're actually were used, they don't really know.
Right.
I like to think that they were, because people are really messed up and they do horrible things to one another.
It's
And
true.
yeah, and that's a pretty messed up. So the Iron Maiden is basically it's like an upright coffin, like sarcophagus, I guess. And
Okay.
but the inside is got spikes protruding out. And so when they close it, the spikes go into you. Not enough to impale your vital organs, only enough to
Okay.
make you bleed out slowly, except for the ones that go directly deep into your eyes, in the front. Just like, my eyes. Oh, speaking of eyes, at work today, I brought home a lens. I don't know if you can
Ooh.
see it. So this
Yeah.
was a lens out of a chihuahua's eye.
Oh wow. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. She just like
Oh,
popped it onto the table like an M&M. It was great.
you kind of brought it up in the one you just talked about. And so obviously with a name like Vladimir, I got to talk about impalement.
Yes, that's on
Right.
my list.
Impalement is a method of torture and execution. It's a penetration of a human by an object such as a stake, pole, spear, or hook, often by the complete or partial perforation of the torso. It was particularly used in response to crimes against the state and regarded across a number of cultures as a very harsh form of capital punishment.
And they would also
Obviously,
leave them there as like warnings to other
right.
people. It's like, hey man, don't mess with us because this will be what happens to you.
Well,
Fuck
in
around and find out.
that was the fuck around and find out era.
Yeah.
That's what the find out was. Well, and with
Yeah.
Vlad Tepes, I mean, he was Hungarian fighting. I believe it was like the invade some. I believe it was Muslim invaders, but I don't want to. I may be wrong. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. And that's what he would do is he would impale him, put him out in front of his castle, and be like, "Come on, motherfuckers!" You know what I mean? Like let's
Yeah, and they would
fucking
just place them usually like by their anus
right.
more often than not. And they would just slide down
But
slowly and it would get wider and they would just
which
impale. Sometimes it would come out their mouth. If it was, they found a way to do it like just right where it would come out perfectly.
uh Fright Paul's just messaged something. What did he say here? Hey, I just joined the stream. I don't know what I missed or not, but to me, the worst for me torture ever, it would make me crack right away with someone messing with the nerve on a tooth.
Ooh,
Uh,
yeah. Ooh, that would
yeah,
hurt.
dude,
That
that's
would be
fucking
like a
brutal.
tooth pulling torture. CIA wants answers. And they're like, yank a tooth out. Oh,
That
pulling
would
out
be funny.
fingernails. That's another good one.
That is
Pulling
another
out
good one.
nails.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if that
Yeah.
has like an actual name, like some of
It's
them have
called
like
denailing.
Well, that's a perfect name for it.
Yep.
That's what it is.
Oh, and speaking of nails, they also have something called the you've heard of the French tickler. Well, there's a Spanish tickler that's a thing that and it looks like Wolverine's fucking claws, and that's
Right.
what they do with it. They use it for like raking or combing. That's the torture that it's named, and they use this thing for raking and combing your skin.
Well, and another
Very
way of doing, because we said we were going to also talk about psychological
Oh
torture.
yeah, I have
And
a
one
whole
of the
list.
and since you brought up nails, nails on a chalkboard is actually
Yes,
considered a torture method, oddly
it
enough.
really is.
It really,
I would
really
have to
is.
agree with that. You know
Really
what
quick.
is like torture for me is like a sea of office telephones ringing. Oh God, fuck me.
Really quick, while we take a quick break, I'm going to hit up the first question so everyone gets that one. Because again, we're doing that giveaway. And then we're going to go down here. And this is our second question. Okay. Holmes was finally arrested in 1894, but not for murder originally. What was it that he was charged with when he was like originally arrested? Inevitably charged with murder, but first he was arrested for a separate crime.
He was kind of a big fat liar. I mean, he admitted to killing people that were still alive. And
Right.
he said he killed all these people, but he really didn't. He only killed like 7
Well,
or something.
and the
I
more
don't
that
remember.
I research him, I come to the conclusion that he's absolutely not Jack the Ripper. I know that there's like a kind of a,
Oh yeah.
was he or
No.
wasn't he because of the years he was through college and then coming
Completely
back.
different personalities.
Right, like this dude was like a scammer who was basically killing off his fucking cohorts so they wouldn't tell on him, or killing off people and like taking their insurance money. So he was more of a fucking thief and a murderer. He wasn't like where Jack the Ripper was like killing street women and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? It's like they didn't even have the same motivation, let alone
Right.
But
Yeah. It's just dumb.
that's
It's just
besides the
dumb.
point.
What
One of
other
the
kind of psychological tortures did you want to talk about?
psychological. Okay, let me go back to my
Because
psychological list.
we're still doing that, right?
Yeah, I want to do. I mean, we can mix them in together. We don't have to
Oh,
really
okay.
like go back and forth. One of my favorite scenes in The Walking Dead, and I can't remember the song, and nobody say a goddamn lyric because it'll ring in my head for a month. But when Daryl, Norman Reedus' character, was being held by the I forget what the Negan people, I forget what they were calling them. They had him stuck in like a jail cell, and they were playing this song, and they just played it over and over and over and over. And like, there's music I can listen to over and over and over and be fine. If you put on some Behemoth or something like that, I'll listen to the same song 20 fucking times in a row. But the song that they were playing drove me fucking batshit crazy after one play. As soon as it started again, I was like, no fucking way.
That's a type of torture.
Dude, it played for episodes. Like it
Yeah,
was the
that is a
same
type of
fucking
torture.
song.
It's a type of psychological torture. So that
It was
applies.
wild. Yeah. Yeah. So
Um,
music torture. Torture.
yes.
Justin Bieber can be used for torture. There's a joke in the Justin Bieber roast on Comedy Central where they were saying Kim Jong-un uses his music to torture people in North Korea. And I was dying. I was fucking dying. It was pretty good.
That's funny. I think I've seen that. He took the roast well, I think.
He did. I mean, I don't think anyone really got after him. I mean, he's done some stupid shit and he's like a dumb little kid, but I mean, you can't really knock Justin Bieber for the dude made $200 million by the time he was like 20 years old. None of
He's
us
gaining
did.
respect. It's fine.
Yeah.
We're just jealous.
One of the ones I did want to talk about though, just so I don't forget though, let me get down to it. Oh yeah, here we go. This one's like one of my favorites. Keel hauling.
Yeah, keel hauling. That's a good one. I enjoy a good keel haul.
A decent keel haul on a Tuesday afternoon is what
I mean, it really does wonders for the rest of your week.
So keel hauling is to drag along the keel being the bottom of the boat. It's a form of punishment, potential execution once meted out to the sailors at sea. The sailor was tied to a line, looped beneath the vessel, thrown overboard on one side of the ship, and dragged under the ship's keel, either from one side of the ship to the other or from front to back. And so what would happen a lot of times is one, a lot of these ships had barnacles and shit underneath. So if you had a short rope, you're slamming on them barnacles, you're getting cut up, things
attracting
like that.
Sharks.
That, and then, even if you survive that, you got infections and scarring, and I mean, but typically
concussions.
I think a lot of guys, concussions. A lot of guys just ended up drowning, I can't imagine how long you'd have to be under the boat, sail, because I'm assuming they're sailing at this point, getting dragged underneath there like that. That's gotta be fucking brutal. It reminds me of that movie Cabin Boy with Chris Elliott. Did you ever see that growing up? It was like
I
a
don't know. I don't
comedy.
think so.
Chris Elliott was a like a stowaway cabin boy or whatever. It was kind of a shitty little comedy, and they throw him out on a little life raft and drag him behind the boat by a rope in like shark infested waters. It's pretty funny.
Nice.
Yeah, I would say it came out in the early '90s,
Hmm.
but it was pretty comical. But yeah, so there's keyholing.
How about the brazen bowl? Can we talk about that?
The
Have you
brazen
the brazen
bull.
bowl? This was in ancient Greece. They would build a large hollow bowl out of brass,
Okay.
and it would have one opening, a little door on the side. They would put the person inside. They would close it, start a fire underneath, and basically slow roast this guy, cook him. Usually they'll cut out his tongue first, but they'll put him in this brass bowl and they'll cook him over fire. Um, but they made it so like the smoke would come out the nostrils, and they usually put incense in there too, so it would like be spurting incense and bacon smell out. And then the mouth, as the person's screaming as they're burning to death, it goes through the bowl's mouth and makes noises, and everybody's like, "Yay!" It's pretty
I
brutal. Yeah, have you heard of that one?
haven't heard of that one, and it
Oh,
sounds
that's
pretty
that.
goddamn brutal.
Yeah, yeah, you should look it up. It's called the brazen bowl or the brass bowl. I think there's another name for it too, but it's an ancient Greek thing.
Can we talk about one type of torture I don't think it's talked about enough?
What's that?
Tickle torture.
Oh my God, that is fucking horrible. If somebody tickles me, I will kick them in the face.
Tickle
I'll kick
torture
them
is
in
the
the.
use of
Ugh.
tickling to abuse, dominate, harass, humiliate, or interrogate an individual. While laughter is popularly thought as a pleasure response, in
No,
tickle torture, the one being tickled may laugh whether or not they find the experience pleasant.
no, I hate it. I
It
start
says
screaming and
in a
kicking.
in a tickling situation, laughter can indicate a panic reflex rather than a pleasure response.
Oh, it was horrible. It's scream laughing and kicking, lots of kicking. You know how
Yeah,
like some people walk up to you and they grab like the top of your knee and go like that? That
yeah.
automatically makes my leg go up.
You know what I do to people and everybody hates it, and I just love doing it to them, is when you shake their hands and you roll their bones like in their hand.
Oh,
Yeah,
ouch.
people don't
Ew.
like when you do that to them.
No, don't do that. That's not for you're not very nice, Vlad.
It's you know, you gotta like, you know, show your
Russ.
dominance. What up, Russ?
Yeah,
Russ
I
is
don't
up
know,
late
man.
watching us.
I feel like you attract more bees with honey than with vinegar. So,
Fair, fair.
you know, for me, being nice works way better. I mean, I don't
Uh,
really get far if I'm a bitch.
what about, I mean, one of the obvious ones we haven't brought up is waterboarding, right? We haven't talked about that one.
Waterboarding. Yeah, yeah.
And then
That's a good one.
that's the one where they like kind of lay you down and then they drip like
And
water on your face.
they put
Yeah,
the cloth over your face, and
right.
then you just at a steady rate just like pour water over your face, and you
Now,
slowly drown and you aspirate.
Melissa says something about curbing. Do you know about curbing? I'm assuming she's talking about when you open someone's jaw and like kick them
And
in
you
the
make
back
them
of the
bite
head
the
on a
curb.
curb. Right. I'm
That's what I
guessing.
think. Yeah,
Unless
that's what
it's
I
something
think.
else.
I don't
Uh
know.
we're doing good, Derek, man. We're just knocking back some Zombie Horde podcast.
Yeah.
As a
So
matter of
let's. Oh, go ahead.
fact, yeah, curbing in American history X is what she means. Yeah, that's it. Yep.
Yes.
That's curbing,
Yes.
all right.
Yes. So
Uh
I want to talk about rat torture. There's so many
okay.
different types of tortures. There's tortures for like exposure. There's tortures for involving animals. Rat torture being one of them. They would take the person and they'd be laying there, and they would put like some rats on your belly with something over them, like a bowl or some sort of vessel over them, so they
Right.
can't get out. They're just crawling around your belly under this bowl, and they put like hot coals or fire or something over it. So to try to get away from the heat, they dig through the only soft area there is, which is your skin, your body, and your internal organs. Alternatively, they've also starved rats and done the same thing, not necessarily put hot coals, but just left them there and they're starving. They're hungry and they start chewing away at the soft flesh.
You know what's crazy is actually in my notes about rat torture. I have that it was actually still used in Argentina up until 1990.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy? But
Um,
Yeah, they basically encourage the rats to, attack and bite you and inevitably kill, eat and kill you, kill and eat you or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
But it's the Rats Dungeon, or Dungeon of the Rats, was a feature of the Tower of London alleged by Roman Catholic writers from the Elizabethan era.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
yeah, that's a crazy. I don't have a problem with rats. I've actually had rats as pets.
Yeah.
But that would be a shitty way to go to get like eaten alive.
Man, it would. So we got some comments here. Wet burlap and let it dry. Yep, that'll shrink it. That's how they first. That's one of the first methods of the boot, which we'll talk about. The burlap. And then Susan says the pair of anguish, the Judas cradle, Spanish donkey, Spanish tickler. We talked about the Spanish tickler already. The collar and the heretic's fork. I have all those things on my list too. Good stuff.
And then
Good
Russ
stuff.
says they're bringing back the firing squad for executions.
Well, that's not really a torture. That's like fast and.
I just don't understand why people wouldn't choose the needle. You just go to sleep.
That's what I would choose.
I don't want to get
Just
fucking shot.
put me
Just
to
let me go
sleep
to
like my
bed.
dog, man. Right?
Really quick
Yeah.
before we go any further, we've done 2 questions, so let's go ahead and do our last one, right? So our first question again was H.H. Holmes was the name that he went by, but what was H.H. Holmes' real name? Again, don't answer these, just keep them to yourself and then email us and you'll win this radical prize.
Look at that. Am I not eligible to win it?
Well, no.
I don't know the answers.
Oh, you don't?
I could be looking them up right now.
Well, that's what everyone should be doing. And so our third and final question. Oh, wait. So really quick, our second question was, H was finally arrested in 1894, but not for murder. What was it that he was charged with? His original charge that he got when he was finally caught. And then our final question, what happened to H.H. Holmes Hotel? And then the second part of that is a part B, if you will, was, and what is it that today? So basically answer those 4 questions, write it down on an email, and then send your answers to the Zompire Inc. Gmail. I got my phone right here, so we'll be able to see if anyone gets in on it. But in the meantime, we can go back to our show.
Yeah. So other types of torture that I have. Well, now the pair of anguish was a little screw device that had like 4. It was a metal device. And it had 4 leaves that would open up like that. And basically it was put into somebody's mouth or anus or vagina.
Ooh.
And used a little screw and it just opens up these metal leaves. A lot of times they had a lot of times I read that sometimes they had little spikes on the ends. Anyways, crack your jaw open, make you die. Pair of anguish. Let's see, the Judas cradle. Oh, go ahead.
I'm a little bummed out. Derek Winsky says, nice questions. I'm not participating tonight. Well, you should be, Derek. God damn it.
He just did. He just participated by posting that question posting that comment.
He did.
So, okay, let's see. The Judas cradle. You're hung by ropes and you're lowered onto a very sharp pyramid into your butthole. There's a lot of butthole stuff back in the ancient times. So you're lowered by rope slowly onto this sharp pointy pyramid until you die, usually from sepsis. So that's the Judas cradle.
Melinda Beauchamp, you have 2 of the 4 correct. Let me go get my answers actually really quick.
Okay.
Go ahead on to the next one.
Spanish donkey.
Oh, that sounds sexy.
Yeah, it's pretty sexy. I think it's also called the wooden horse. Basically, it's like an A-frame sawhorse, and they sit you on it, and there's usually weights on your ankles weighting you down, so you're slowly just getting cut in half on this pointy sawhorse. That's the Spanish donkey.
Derek, here, I'm going to put up the first question for you.
Got it.
So you get a chance. Let me see. We do have another answer that came in. Let's see. Oh, we actually have a winner.
What?
Missy Ann. I don't know who Missy Ann is. Missy Ann, if you're watching, you won.
Woo-hoo! Woo! Congratulations, Missy.
So basically, let's just answer these questions. Missy Ann, make sure you message me or the page or some way for us to get a hold of you to make sure you get your Herman W. Mudgett relic sent to you. Oh, Melissa. Oh, Missy Ann is Melissa Volan. Congratulations,
Are you
Melissa
kidding me?
Volan.
Woman, you win everything.
I
That's why
got
she's
her
our number
address.
one fan.
But so let's get back. I
Nice.
wanted to get over. Oh wait, let me get up to here. Hold on. Ah.
Woo-hoo!
Russ, you were a little bit late. Why am I trying to? Oh yeah, question one. Do you have it up? Okay. So question one was what was his name? Herman Webster Mudgett, not Smudgett, Mudgett. What was he finally arrested for in 1894? Because it wasn't murder, it was horse swindling. And then the third question, which was a part A and part B, what happened to the original hotel? It burned down. What is it now? It's a post office. So, Missy Ann, aka Melissa Voland, congratulations. You are this week's big wiener.
Nice.
Dan missed it, was going to tell to give it away anyways. Ha ha ha. Well, that would have been pretty sweet of you, Mr. Russ.
Well, he said above earlier, he says, I'm kind of out of this because I know all of them and I have that piece already.
Right. Well, that's
Yeah.
cool, though, that he would have gave it away. We could have done something.
Russ is a freaking stand-up guy, man. That's why he's our friend.
He really is. So what's the next one? What do you got next for me?
I like flaying. Flaying is when you have little pieces of your skin. You're skinned little by little. They'll take a chunk of skin here. They'll take some muscle here. They'll just like cut you away little by little.
Okay.
Until you die.
Okay.
They basically skin you alive. A lot of times they will start at the bottom. They start at your feet and legs and work their way up. I don't remember why. But that also reminds me of the Chinese torture, Death of 1,000 Cuts.
Ooh.
And it is called Ling Chi, Death by 1,000 Cuts. And they take and they cut you tons and tons and tons of times until you like slowly bleed out.
Thousands. Got it.
Yeah.
One of the
Again,
things
no vital organs. So
I always thought if I was wanting to torture someone, what I would do is like cut them again like hundreds of times, put them in a bathtub full of like battery acid, or you know what I mean, something like that.
Lime juice,
battery acid, like coarse sea salt, you know, because you got to rub it in the wounds, because that's got to be fucking, God, that would suck so bad.
Yeah, jalapeno juice and shit like that. So let's see. So Spanish donkey, Spanish tickler we talked about, and that was the claw, right? The collar was like a hinged collar that you wore around your neck, but it had spikes poking in, so you couldn't like rest or move around a lot. It poked into you. So the collar's pretty bad. The Heretics fork is kind of related to that. It's like a fork. It's got a couple prongs here and a couple prongs down here too, and it's like placed right here.
I've seen that one. Yeah,
between your throat and you can't like do anything.
Right. I was almost going to use that one as the background, and I found this image, and I was like,
"That's a good one. That's a good one."
Have you heard of pitch capping?
Of what? Pitch capping? Yes, I have. I forgot what it was.
So it's a form
but I read about it last night,
which involves pouring hot pitch or tar into a conical shape or conical shaped paper cap, which was forced onto a bound suspect's head, allowed to cool, and then rapidly removed, taking with it a portion of the suspect's skin.
Yep. They would also do things like people get sunburned and they would rip the skin off, and oh man, people are really, really, really awful. One that I really like that you may recognize being used in a movie is the saw torture, where they hang you upside down and they saw you in half at the crotch. And the reason why they do it upside down is because you stay conscious for longer, because all the blood rushes to your head and your vital organs. And and so you're there for a lot of that.
They did that one in Terrifier 2.
Movie. Yep. That's exactly what I was talking about. Yeah. So that was a good one. And he's like laughing the whole time. Yeah. Death of 1,000 paper cuts. That's yes. Oh,
What is
let's
it?
talk about.
Actually, to split hairs, he was arrested in 1894 for selling mortgaged goods, which would include horses, but not just stopping at that. I'm a stickler.
No, it's fine. We like to have good details.
It's true. We do love. What about the iron casket?
Oh, the iron is that the same as like the cage or the coffin where they stick you in it, this little tiny kit, and they hang you?
That's the one
Like,
that you were just talking about, wasn't it? Like a little bit
no,
ago
they
with
hang
the
you on the
spikes.
street. No, no.
Oh,
And you're just in this cage, and people like can walk by and throw stuff at you. You're exposed to the elements again, like
right,
crucifixion. Vermin. Birds can come and peck at you, crows and things like that.
right.
And you could die. Like basically, I think it's usually like dehydration and exposure is what kills you from that.
I'm sorry. I'm reading this one about strappado,
Oh, strappado. They
also
hang you.
known as porta.
Yeah, they hang you like this, and they hang you, from the ceiling or whatever, and the weight like dislocates your shoulders, and then all of that weight is like displaced horribly uncomfortably on your back because your shoulders are all um, dislocated. So
Gotcha.
that's one. Yeah, that's one. Oh, there's lots of different types of stocks. I was reading about the different types of stocks. I don't know if I wrote them down or not. Um, it's the pillory. The pillory has all different types of stocks. Um,
Hmm.
I think I wasn't talking about the stocks back. I was talking about the collar. The collar is just a collar with spikes
Oh
in it.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
not. It's not something you
Facing
put
towards your
yourself
neck.
in. It's like a collar. It's like a choker made out of
Right.
metal. They clamp it around you, and it's got spikes in it. But the stocks are something that's um, more stationary. It's kind of like this, and you put your head and your hands in it or your feet or whatever. There's different types of stocks, like what is it called? Oh gosh, it's the God. Where is it?
Russ says, Michelle, you're talking about the stocks.
Mm-mm.
Um, he says stocks are in the elements and exposed to the public for public shame, not used just for death, but for shame.
Hmm. They called that something else. What I was reading, but
I would imagine, depending on like what
it probably
era or
differs from
where it
different
was used.
different
Yeah.
cultures too.
Oh,
But
100%.
oh, there's also like boiling people, like boil people in water or oil. That the skull crusher, put your head in the thing, and they just screw the thing down until it smashes your skull. Um, the lead sprinkler is this little contraption that they would put like molten oil or lead or even silver, and they would drip it over your body. They drip the silver into your eyes.
They did something
Um,
similar to that in like Game of Thrones. There was I forget the girl's name, but her brother got like the gold poured on his head. You know what I mean?
yeah, that's probably the same type of thing. Um,
There was one. There was a uh psychological one that I had read that I wanted to bring up, but now I can't
yeah,
find it.
yeah. Is it? I have so many notes here. It's ridiculous. Well, other types of psychological torture that I have would be like the Chinese water torture, drip, drip, drip,
Ugh.
drip, drip.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
good.
Phobia exploitations. You're scared of spiders. You're stuck in a room with a fucking 100 tarantulas. That would be torture.
That would be torture.
Um, sensory deprivation, sleep deprivation, the white room torture where everything is white. That's a type of deprivation because you can't tell anything from anything because everything's white. Your food, people who come in and take care of you, everything, the walls. Um, tickle torture, sleep deprivation. That's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there is one, oh, the rack. How can you forget the rack?
How can you forget the
How
rack?
can you forget the rack? And I'm not
Tell him
talking
the
about
rack.
Nordstrom's rack. The
We like
rack, you're on
Nordstrom's
like
rack
this.
too.
I mean, I don't know. I never find anything, but you're stretched out on this wooden rack, like a ladder type thing, and there's pulleys and ropes, and basically they just turn these things, they stretch you. And
Yeah.
stretching, I guess, has gone on since antiquity. They don't know when it began, but it was found all over the world. And it is a horrible torture because it dislocates all of your joints and will rip your limbs off before your bones break. So drawn and
I
quartered,
was
yes.
I
Hang,
was
drawn, and
actually
quartered.
I was actually watching something earlier about tortures and listening to like what William Wallace went through, and then what Rasputin, or was it Rasputin? Who was the dude that was like grew the long ass beard and they tried to kill like 17 times?
Oh, I don't
Do you
know.
know? Do you know what I'm talking about, Angela? Shit, I don't know. They like starved him, shot him, stabbed him. Like this dude would not fucking die. They tried to kill him like 20 something times. But I always try to like in like the history of the world, like who was tortured the most. Like William Wallace got a pretty fucking brutal ending.
Yeah,
But there was somebody. Oh, Rasputin. Yeah, it is Rasputin. Okay. Well, Melissa Voland helped me out.
nice.
Like that dude had it brutal.
What about the wheel, the breaking wheel, the Catherine wheel? Um, you read about the wheel. You know the wheel.
I don't know the wheel.
The wheel is depicted in all kinds of art. Basically, they would either like tie a person to a wheel and take like a hammer and smash all the bones, and then that makes it easier to thread their limbs through the wheel.
Right.
Or they would just like roll the wheel over them or tie them to the wheel and roll it, would just break their bones on the ground and then put them up. And then they would either be dead or dying for everybody to see. But it was pretty artful to be able to weave the limbs through the wheel
Oh, I would
spokes.
imagine.
Yeah, yeah. So that's the
So,
wheel.
so what do you think about next week? What are we going to talk about? What's the show going
Oh,
to
are
be
we
about?
done? I got a million more.
Well, we could talk about torture for days, but we're also going to need episodes to do 10 years from now. So we don't want to, like, you know what I mean, pop our cherry on the first episode.
Okay, well, let me see if there's any ones that we can't leave out.
All right.
Let's see. Breast ripper, crocodile shears, Chinese torture chair, drawing and quartering. I love drawing and quartering. That's when you have a horse tied to each one of your limbs, and then they are sent in 4 different directions. Kapah! You're in 4 pieces. There's something called the scavenger's daughter. There's foot roasting. Oh, the glass rod in the penis, and then shattered.
Russ Stever says, let's talk true crime. I'll come on next week.
Okay.
Well, what true crime are we going to talk about, though? Like,
I don't know.
well,
Oh, we got one more. One more. It's called
okay.
the Poeta Culi.
Ooh,
It's from ancient
sounds
Rome,
sexy.
and it means penalty of the sack.
Penalty of the
It's not what you
sack.
think. It's not what you
Thank
think.
God it's not
So
what I think.
they put you in a bag with like a rooster and a snake and a monkey, a dog, all these fucking animals that are like all fighting, and then they throw you all in the water.
Inside the
So
sack
inside the sack.
with a bunch of animals pissed off at each other.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. So that's pretty imaginative, I
He
think.
says old, new, current, trials, tales, and myths.
I
Hmm.
don't know. You guys decide. I'm going to
Yeah,
continue.
we'll have to come up with something that we haven't done yet. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
something maybe, you know, it'd be really fun to get into, and maybe Russ can let us know his level of interest. I'd like to kind of delve into the John Benet Ramsey unsolved murder case.
You know, I was going to watch a documentary about that last week and I didn't. Maybe I should do that tonight.
I mean, how do you? Let's ask the fans. We got a few people still here with us. What do you guys think? Should we jump into the Jean Benet Ramsey case, or because there's like weird shit that went on with like that dude in Thailand who was like banging kids over there. He admitted to doing it, and like supposedly knew some shit that no one else knew, and I think it'd be an interesting one to get into.
It might be a debate. Oh, that might be good then.
We will touch base. Oh my God, my wife is a super freak about that. Well, we'll have to bring her on too, Russ. Get her on camera.
Hell yeah.
But with that said, this is our episode this week of the Zombie.
I'm so sad it's over. I've got so many more things to talk about. God.
Gosh.
Ruin all my fun every day.
Well, now we get to do a part 2. We'll do another giveaway. How about that?
You always say we do a part 2. We never do a part 2.
Well, there's so much stuff to talk about.
Ah, God, I know. All right, fine.
Fine. Everyone is fine with it.
Fine.
We love you
All
guys.
right.
Thanks again for tuning in. From your host, Vlad the Rad, and my sister from another mister, Michelle of the Dead. Welcome to the Zompire Horde podcast. Join us every Monday, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern, as your hosts, Vlad the Rad and Michelle of the Dead, discuss horror, true crime, and the macabre. Episodes available on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Join us, won't you?